everybody, to our next video installment of our 10-year anniversary ETB work. We are excited to be with you today and talk to you a little bit about where we've been and where we're going to go. Just to start us off, I just want to offer or share with you that we've had some conversations already thinking about ETB starting in 2014. And we had an opportunity to read about Deborah Joy Perez and the way that she really was the initial thinker behind expanding the bench. She was the one who named it. She was the one who justified it. And she was the one who engaged her foundation, Annie E. Casey Foundation, in that work. And in a couple years after, or within actually a pretty short period of time after Deborah Joy Perez initiated this idea, Contini Murray became the person at Annie E. Casey Foundation who incubated this idea. So she was the steward, she was the caretaker of expanding the bench. And we had an opportunity to hear from her about what that was like. Contini Murray was also the person who helped us at Change Matrix become the managers and the leaders of expanding the bench. And we are so, so grateful for her and that time, that year we had with her. We also had an opportunity to hear from some of the folks at Change Matrix who took a lot of time and care to implement expanding the bench initially. And they were Sandra Silva, London Losi, Alina Taniyuchi, Rochelle Spiritu, and myself. And that was a really fun opportunity to reflect on what we were thinking about and what we were excited about and what we actually did in those early years. So it is so great to be at this point now where we can say we built, we learned, we built, and here we are. And with that, I will turn it over to Angel and Nancy to talk about our community.
I wanted to start us off today talking briefly about our advisory team members. I think as we talk about this work and as we approach our work, it has been always a central aspect of us to ensure that we are collaborating and building and co-creating with members of the community that we all are a part of and that we serve in this space. And so as part of this work, we welcome advisory team members to join us and to support our different work groups, whether it's the ACE, Advancing Culture Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Network, or ACE Network, the LEAD work group, Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity, or the fundraising and field building work group that Elizabeth stewards with folks on the advisory team. And together we come to talk about the realities of the world that we're all living in and we're operating within, but also hearing and getting to learn more about the work that they're doing in their present day life. What is the most urgent thing that is happening? What are the emergent items that are taking place? And we get perspectives from folks who are funders of evaluation, folks who are evaluators and part of the ACE network, as well as individuals who are just allies in this space. And it has proven to be this really incredible space for collaboration, thought partnership, and idea generation. And so I know that we have some postcards from a couple of our advisory team members who joined us, and encourage you all to take a look and read, but just lifting up the reality that folks are experiencing and how they've shifted their learning as advisory team members who participated in some of these activities include Gina Martinez, who is from the California Healthcare Foundation. And she shared that being involved with the advisory team member has really helped her understand and grow her learning of what culture responsive and equitable evaluation is and what it actually looks like for her in her own work environment in her space. And Art Hernandez. And he has been an advisory team member who has played several roles on the team, whether it's for the Advancing Culture Responsive and Equitable Evaluation work group or for LEAD. And he has shared and talked about the importance of coming together in this space to help develop and lead work that is really resonating for folks in the present, and how we can also support folks ongoing in the future space. And those his thinking around that is always present in our advisory team meetings. And I so appreciate it because it helps us get out of our heads and in the spaces that we get to be in sometimes. And that's something that we otherwise wouldn't get if we didn't have something like the advisory team that is a part of the Expanding the Bench initiative.
So along with what Angel said, I encourage everyone to continue reading the postcards that we are able to share, not only from our ETB advisory team members, but also from our ETB community, from our ETB gathering, which was held at the American Evaluation Association Conference in Portland, Oregon, in mid-October. So we were able to collect and wanted to share just a few cards that folks were able to share, especially as we're in the space of dreaming and visioning for the future of ETB in its presence and beyond. But just, I think, some general themes that are sticking out to me as the project manager here at ETB is seeing how people hope to, see CRE in the future, seeing how they want to see CRE be implemented and advance in the evaluation field. Also seeing and understanding how ETB has impacted them. And many of these are anonymous, but I think what it at least reflects is the importance of the spaces that we as community members help build with each other to just create more connection, more belonging, spaces to elevate CRE practice, but also deepen and build their CRE practice with each other. And so I encourage you to continue reading these and watching the rest of this video to learn more about how ETB is evolving.
Thanks, Nancy. As I was thinking about this, as I kicked us off, we just hearing from Katini and Deborah Joy Perez helped us remember the inception of Annie E. Casey, and the inception of Expanding the Bench from Annie E. Casey Foundation. And you'll see on this beautiful timeline that our team put together all of the different segments over the years and all of the things that have happened to bring us to where we are. And I just want to highlight just a couple of those because you can see where they are. We've already talked a little bit about 2014 to 2018, but you'll notice that there was a lead cohort. There were 2 lead cohorts during that time. Also, the ACE Evaluation Network, they began to build it and they began to try to create spaces for funders and ACE Evaluation Network members to partner. So already the spirit of this community was starting between 2014 and 2018. Between 2018 and 2021, Change Matrix really adopted, sometimes we say, or became the stewards of Expanding the Bench and spent the first year, really, that was the late 2018 to late 2019, learning from Annie E. Casey Foundation about what they had done, why they had done it, who was involved. And we also spent that time really learning. So what does CRE mean? And so we read people like Karen Kirkland and Geraldine Coffey and Stafford Hood and Rodney Hobson, all of these people who had been thinking about this for years. We read all of their literature and we really adopted CRE practice as another focus of this. So the evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds were already the focus of Expanding the Bench. And what we added was a practice element to that and also really leaned into helping a field understand why they should partner with these evaluators and what CRE should mean in their organizations, in their funder organizations, in their large evaluation firm organizations. And then, of course, in 2020, we had 2 pandemics. One was COVID, and the other one was racial justice, attention on racial justice in a way that we hadn't seen it in a very long time, and we needed to. And that really got us to think about how do we take what we do and do it virtually and do it in every space that we possibly can. And we really leaned into our field building activities, introducing coffee breaks as a way to enhance partnerships between funders and the ACE Evaluation Network. So I'll pause because I think Nancy and Angel are going to pick up on 2021 and bring us to the current day.
What ETB looked like in 2021, especially in how the team expanded. So I think when I joined, we were probably just a team of, I want to say 6 people. I believe Elizabeth was still on as a co-director along with the former co-director Rochelle Espiritu. We had our lead associate program director, which was Sandra. London Losi was spearheading the ACE Evaluation Network. And then we had a former project manager and me coming on board as project coordinator, and then just two people, I think, on our communications team who are also very involved in lots of the field building strategy and programming. And so that was a very small and mighty team. I think when I came in, we were at a point in ETB of, I think, shifting to, still continue some of the programming from Annie E. Casey Foundation. But I think we were in that transition of how are we making it also our own, not just necessarily like as stewards of the initiative from Change Matrix, but how do we make it our own that is also very reflective and responsive to the ETB community? And so that shift, I think, is a perfect segue in a bit to the ACE evaluation network, Angel. But I know when I came in, we were in the midst of like really changing up the application process, and even re-looking at like membership criteria for not only our lead program, but also for the ACE evaluation network. So I know a lot of my work coming in was really updating, re-looking at our ACE evaluation network application. And a lot of the intentions were to make it more accessible, shorter. I think, yes, there are membership criteria that we look at, but also making it in a way where, the screening doesn't feel so prolonged, especially for members to be a part of the network, but also ETB community. Along with other pieces of the programming, I think we were at a point where we were really trying to, sustain a network of, evaluators and funders that were sustained from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, like transferred, into Change Matrix, but also build those relationships with people to also recognize and acknowledge, like, this is Change Matrix. We are now the ETB team. Also, this is the ETB team. This is who is like, this is what this team is doing around ACE and around LEAD, around field building, around CRE and CRE Learning Series. So I think it was really important to like also ground us in that phase too of sustaining and really building relationships with all of our contacts, but also trying to think about how we reach to new people.
Just to add that, in addition to everything that you mentioned, Nancy, I felt as I was coming into the team that it was a time and a space for you all to really check in on what worked really well and what needed to be changed. And with anything that matters and anything that's really important in this space and in society, it takes time to really understand the changes that need to be made to make it relevant or in context to the current culture, the current realities, the current challenges that folks are experiencing. And it has been a time over the past several years from when Liz kind of left off in 2020, 2021. So from the years of 2022, 2023, and 2024, which we currently talk about as our present years, where we really formulated our team to be able to support a lot of the work that we had envisioned and dreamed and fully understood the need for us to be in this space to help build community, but also the need for us to be intentional in every aspect of the work, much of which we're still working on as we are continuing to adapt everything, and that we'll talk about in a moment. But as we talk about the ACE network, Nancy, and kind of building off of what you had shared, over the past couple of years, we've really changed the way that we review ACE applications and the way that ACE applications are requested. And I think we are getting closer to getting to a space that I think folks really resonate with on the application, but I know there's still work to do. And so what I will say is that I think the work that we have done, both as we expanding the bench internal team, but also the ACE network in a broader sense, has been to really expand the reach of what culturally responsive and equitable evaluation is and what it looks like and means to other folks. And so when I think about this timeline, it's like we're building this infrastructure, this foundation, we're reinforcing our foundation and building better infrastructure to really support and expanding the bench that is very different from what it had originally started with. And it has adapted and grown to really fit the realities of the community that we are a part of. And so as we are continuing, and as I'm joining as co-director in 2024, this year, earlier this year, I'm really excited to have all of this data that I've been so lucky to be able to be a part of, but also to read and engage and to hear from ETB community members, and to really synthesize that into what the future of the work that we're doing is going to look like, or might be. And it's not, I want to just like add a clarification that when I say like this is what I envision or this is what we think, these are just of what we're currently at. It does not mean that this is what it will actually look like once it's implemented. Because one thing that we have learned, one of the biggest things we've learned over the past several years, is that being flexible and nimble in this space is necessary in order for us to support the initiative in the way that it needs. Otherwise, it can be really easy to get very overwhelmed when you think about all of the moving pieces, all of the different components that are happening on any given moment. And so with that, unless Nancy or Liz, you have anything else you'd like to add, but I'd love for us to talk a little bit more about some of our programming from our current year. So again, thinking about 2021 to 2024. And again, you all will be able to access the timeline in our year in review, which is upcoming and will be out shortly. I don't really know which will come out first, but I think this video comes out first, and then you will be able to access our year in review later to look at this timeline. But I wondered now if we could shift to talking a little bit more about some of the progression of LEAD.
Yeah, I loved what you said about flexible and nimble. And I know we're supposed to talk about 2021 to 2024, but I can't help but go back to 2018 when we first were thinking about implementing LEAD for the first time. And the first thing that we were confronted with was people didn't really like the folks that were offering the curricula. And so we needed to think very quickly about who's going to do that. And so we had a former LEAD cohort member say, well, I'm at a university and we could do that. So right away, we were responding to needs from the field, requests from the field, from the LEAD scholars, and implementing change, like right off the bat. LEAD started off being a program that was focused on postdoctoral degree students or fellows. And we went through cohort 3 and realized, we might want to think about opening it up to folks that had a master's and not just a PhD, or not a PhD, but maybe both. And so we did some thinking about what that would look like. And we maintained the curricula, changed the folks that were in it. It was always virtual, it was always free, and it was always only for evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. So we've been through cohorts 3, cohorts 4, and cohort 5, and we're still thinking about it. We had a new curricula last time, with cohort 5, and it was responsively refined in the moment as it was happening. Tanisha Tate Woodson we contracted with her to do the curricula because she's a LEAD scholar. She was in cohort 3. What better person to take on a refinement of the curricula than somebody who'd been through it? And Tanisha did an amazing job. And she was extraordinarily responsive to the needs of the scholars, not only beforehand based on previous scholar experience, but during that experience. She had one-to-one conversations with each one of those scholars. And so I really just can't say enough about how Tanisha Tate Woodson implemented that curricula, and will be on board to refine it the next time, because we're still tweaking. We're still flexible. We are also thinking deeply about the mentor and practicum site components of LEAD, and are working to make sure that those mentoring relationships, which we know are some of the most important relationships in the entire LEAD program, but that they are really effective for our scholars. So we're doing some work around that to make sure that group is effective, is consistent, and is most of all responsive to the scholars. And then the practicum host sites, we're always listening to the scholars about how we can support those sites to be ready for them. And for those of you who are listening to this that have any notion of being a practicum site, my advice and encouragement to you is do it. You have a little bit of time to think about it. We will help you think about it. We really, really want you to create a space for scholars to bring their CRE practice to you. It is not just you're doing them a favor type of a thing. It is not that at all. You will learn, they will learn, and the field is better for it. And what better way, I'm speaking to you philanthropists out there, what better way for these scholars to learn about philanthropy than to do a practicum in your organization? So please contact us. We really want to invite you into that space.
To learn about the progression of lead that is still being adapted. It's still being worked on to really resonate with the folks that are taking the course, that are being a part of this cohort and future cohorts. And as we continue to think about the work that we're doing, I just want to make a mention of the ACE members. We are now up to a total of 120 members of the Advancing Culture Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Network, and we are continuing to get new applications every month now that we've switched some of the process, and we look forward to welcoming more. So just as you did your plug, I want to welcome and invite folks who are and who identify as racially and ethnically diverse evaluators and who have been practicing culture responsive and equitable evaluation for 7 more years to join the network, to apply to be an ACE network member. And we will share information on how you can access the application, additional information, but we really do welcome you into this space, because there's been a lot of change that has happened in how we approach the work of ACE as well. It started, as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, being a list of an Excel document or a database of names of folks when it first began, and then really shifting into this space of what does it actually look like and mean for us? And how can we really make this something that is useful, that we all want to be a part of, and that we want to continue doing this work? Nancy and I just recently, yesterday actually, got a chance to meet with one of our excellent ACE Evaluation Network members and advisory team members. And she mentioned really important feedback in such an incredible way that really resonated with both Nancy and I, that really highlights the importance of us continuing to center the members of the ACE network as we continue to expand and develop the work for them. This past year, we really focused on professional development series that were focused on, or these past couple of years, we focused on professional development series that really were inspired and owned by the members who would come in. We would help plan and set up the events, but the bulk of it was really focused and centered around the topics that were emergent to them, that they really enjoyed, things that were present that they wanted to share with others. And as we look into the future, we were wanting to incorporate some of that time and some of our additional, I think we call them open mic events, where folks would come in and we could just talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, and continuing to reimagine what that looks like in the coming year. Because one of the things that we are hearing is really expanding and talking more about what culture responsive and equitable evaluation looks like out on the field, and also a space for folks to share their stories, how their work is contributing to the field, and how we can help synthesize what that looks like. And Nancy, I know that you touched base on the ETB team and how it's expanded earlier, but is there anything else that you want to talk about now, especially as we're kind of shifting our work that could lead into our expansion and how we partner as well, and talking about the 2024 ETB gathering and the conference that we participated in?
Yeah, I think with you and Liz being able to share about the LEAD and ACE program, even that in itself has already, there's a lot of growth in it that has happened over the years. And I think that's quite reflective of even how like our team has grown as ETB. I know earlier I shared about like what the team looked like in like a small mighty team of 6 people. And now we're at a team of 10 people. And sometimes that's still quite unbelievable to me, especially in how in where I joined and the point of ETB where I joined. So I think that's just quite reflective of the potential that we and also community members in ETB see that ETB has. And so, yeah, we're quite at a big team now. And that's a perfect segue into also talking about our 2024 ETB gathering that took place at the American Evaluation Association conference, because it was definitely it's definitely one of our, really the biggest event I think we host every year. We've hosted it for, I think it's 3rd or 4th year now at AEA. Of course, with the pandemic, the 2 pandemics that took place, that certainly paused our in-person convening, gathering together during the American Evaluation Association conference. So this year being the biggest, it was also the first year that the ETB team partnered up with some really important partners in the evaluation field. And that included the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, that included Informing Change, which is also led by fellow ACE Evaluation Network member, Michael Arnold, and then Engage R&D. And so I think it was just really important to start to see partnerships and see collaborations of building a space to bring evaluators and funders together, and also really center evaluators of color who not only are a part of ETB, but a part of even the larger evaluation ecosystem. So this year, for the first year, in addition to partnership, we also open the space up to everybody at the AEA conference. Before, it's always been a space, exclusively for ETB community, because I know the ETB community has always been a tight-knit community, and we've always wanted to center the racially and ethnically diverse evaluators in our community, and still do that while also opening it up to a larger conference space and welcoming in more people who are committed to CRE, but also committed to centering and working with racially and ethnically diverse evaluators. So that was really huge and big. And I think what at least is coming out of it for me, out of our huge ETB gathering, was the importance of partnership, collaboration, connection, and community. And I think many people really saw that too. I know we had over probably up to 200 people RSVP'd, over 100 people who were in and out of that space that we held for that evening. We were celebrating our cohort 5 of the LEAD program. We were celebrating new evaluators who have joined the ACE Evaluation Network in the past 2 years. And also just, I think, making sure that we center joy, because I know that so much of the work that the evaluators do in the field is so necessary and crucial, and we really wanted to center joy and celebration community in that space. We also, for the first time as an ETB team, tabled or hosted an exhibit booth at the conference, and we learned a lot. And I think the most important thing that came out of it was really connecting with new people. I think those were a lot of our intentions with having a table at AEA, and being able to provide entryway points to learning more about CRE. How can you learn more about CRE? How can we support with that? Wanting more evaluation pathways for emerging evaluators in the field. How can we support that with the LEAD program and also the ACE Evaluation Network, and helping them find community and build communities? And so I think a lot of really important and good things and good celebrations came out of our ETB gathering this year, and our presence at the AEA conference. And so I'm just so excited to see where we continue to go and grow in these spaces of continued partnership, collaboration, and community.
Take note of really quickly, because I think it's also important, is that during these in-person time at AEA, it's an opportunity for our team, the internal Expanding the Bench team, to come together in person and also do some strategic planning. And so it was an opportunity this year to really understand the impacts of growing the team into a team of 10 people, 9-10 people, Nancy, as you shared. And the need for us to really be intentional about how we work with one another as we've grown this team. And I'm sharing that here because I think it's important to recognize that as the initiative continues to grow and as we continue to support this work, that there is a lot of internal components of navigating our roles, how we show up in this space, who each of us represent, and how we show up for Expanding the Bench, that I think is really important. And Elizabeth, please feel free to jump in here and to say no, but I think it has been really intentional from both of our perspectives and beyond, that there is that we don't want Expanding the Bench to have a singular person that represents the initiative. This is a space for all of us to really take ownership and steward this work, and that has really been what we are navigating and trying to really be good, strong stewards of. And it's a little bit different, I think, and it can feel overwhelming at times, but it's definitely a space that we want to be in and that we want to be committed to in supporting this field and building out the ecosystem. And so as part of that, as we were thinking about the next 3 to 5 years, and we were thinking about our conversation today, we started really thinking about how we wanted to structure what we wanted to share. And part of it is 2 different phases. One of them we're calling our goal phase, where this is really our space to strengthen our foundation of Expanding the Bench and further build out or expand our infrastructure as we are doing a lot of work that is both continuing in that national space, but then we'll also be stepping into some of a more regional focus. And that is something that I'd like to invite Liz to share more about. Can you tell us more about some of the work that we're doing with ETB Regional?
Oh, yes. I'm so excited about this. And part of the reason I'm so excited about this is that from the very first call I had with a funder for expanding the bench, I got the question, well, what are you doing in our place? How are you helping funders and evaluators partner in my location? And we weren't prepared to do that yet. And so, we've been asked that question quite a bit over time. And I think for the last several years, we've been really focused on how do we build this out nationally, but in a way that ACE, LEAD, funding, and field building are all an integrated whole as expanding the bench. So we've really been focused on centering the evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. We've been focused on engaging folks in the practice of CRE, and we've been focused on building a field and fundraising for all of this so that we can continue to expand that work. Well, this year we had a really important conversation with some support to start thinking about the ETB regional effort. And so because we've been hearing this and because there's specific interest in the southern region, we are excited to begin this process of first understanding. Like, we really never will go into any place and believe that we can do for or believe that we have the answers. And so we are taking a very tentative and humble and partnering approach to the work that we're going to do in the South to start with. And we have capacity to do it. Part of that team of 10 people that Angel and Nancy mentioned is going to be dedicated to this piece. And the first thing that we're going to do is look for partners in that region. And we have ACE members in that region. And we have funders who have investment and interest in that region. And so we're going to be first in dialogue with them to build out our own work plan. And they will be walking with us every single step of the way. It feels important for us to go now from national to place-based into communities. And whether that's a region of several states or a state, or it doesn't matter, or a local area, it doesn't matter. You get to define the community that you want us to partner with you around, and we will do that. So this is the beginning, I think, of a new phase of expanding the bench that is exciting. And we can't wait to tell you more about it. So it will begin, it is begun. It will continue through 2025 and beyond, and stay tuned because we will no doubt have a lot to say about that. So I'll pass it back to you, Angel and Nancy.
Moving into this space of understanding how our work is received and whether or not it's working, I think that those are a lot of the questions that we are really sitting with currently, actually, in this space. We are trying to really define the approach that we've taken to measuring our work and the reach and our metrics. And we've done all that. We have a lot of year-end reviews. We've had reports that we've shared with funders and other spaces where we've talked about this work. But really, we came to this kind of conclusion where it's like we've been so focused on doing the programming and taking this initiative on that we haven't had the capacity to really tell our story and tell the work that has been done. And so that is what I'm really, really excited to dive into as co-director in this space alongside with you, Liz, and the team, is to really identify what are the programs that we currently have, or the programming that we currently have, that is really, really working for folks, that is folks are really enjoying, and how are we really shaping and shifting the way that we do this work moving forward. And I think we've done a lot of adjustments to this work in process evaluation and program evaluation to really understand that the work that is currently being implemented is being well received, or if there's challenges or feedback, that we adapt to that. But then bringing that back into the larger ecosystem, the larger system of our theory of change, the work that we want to do, it just hasn't been something that we have had a lot of capacity to do in the past. And so we hear folks are wanting more of that, and we are so in line with you, and that is really our goal over the next several years and beyond, is to really help shape the way that we talk about this work, our role in this ecosystem, in this space of expanding the bench, and really building out what that looks like moving forward. Because I think we talk about this when we talk about culture responsive and equitable evaluation, is that it requires that it's integrated into every aspect of the ecosystem, of the evaluation ecosystem. And to build off of that within ETB over the next 3 to 10 years, that is what we're really looking to try to explore and understand. what is the ecosystem of expanding the bench, and how do we plug in, and how do we support the work of culture responsive and equitable evaluation and the evaluators who do that for many years to come? Because this space that we create here, that we help nurture, that we really build and design with the community, is meant to be a space for folks to connect with one another, to continue to build relationships, all while centering evaluators of racially and ethnically diverse backgrounds, and connecting them to that broader field of both evaluation, but also philanthropic support.
So join us and be part of our community. We're here, we want you, and there's no telling what we're going to be able to do with your support and in this community and ecosystem as we move forward. So if you got to the end of this video, thank you for staying.